Hey everybody, happy Friday, welcome back. We're super excited to bring you another super awesome episode of Elevated 8 tonight. We're going to be interviewing Keys Glass here shortly, but before we get to that, we're going to talk with Steve real quick.
What up, y'all? And thanks a lot for joining us tonight here at Elevated 8. I'm really excited because we are going to be hanging out with Keys Glass. This guy's Millies are amazing. I don't know how he does the detail in there. Anyways, I guess I don't care because the shit is hard and I'm not ready to go there yet. But I do care because I do understand that the art and the time and the heat that goes into it, it's phenomenal. I'm really excited to see why he does it and what makes him tick into that stuff. I'm also really excited for this 2021. We have a lot of great new content coming out. So make sure you subscribe to our channel here for all these great Elevated 8s. And we got a lot of great new information coming out. And please go follow at Keys Glass on Instagram. Check them out. And let's get ready for this. Elevate. Mind, body, spirit, y'all.
Thanks, Steve. That was super fun. And now for our very special interview with Keys. Hey, man, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Thanks for doing this with us. We really appreciate you joining us for this interview.
Oh, no problem at all, man.
So how did you get started blowing glass?
Let's see. Well, back in the day, there was a big forum for smoking and stuff called Toke City. And the guy that ran it before he disappeared and ripped a bunch of people off, he had a magazine called Glass Aficionado, and I was like an amateur photographer at the time, taking pictures of Nug for collectives trying to get free weed. He posted that he needed someone to take pictures of Lurch for the magazine, and I was like, I'm kind of close by, so I ended up messaging him, and then arranged to go out to Lurch's. He lived out in the desert of California, like 3 hours away. So me and my buddy went out there and then took pictures of him working on this big piece. And then at the end, he asked if we wanted to try it out. And I was like, yeah, definitely. When I was a kid, I'd always thought about blowing glass. I always liked the idea. I was kind of the thing with fire, but I always thought you needed to be like a scientist to do it. I always thought there was like 30 gases you needed and like permits and licenses. And I didn't think you could just buy the stuff you needed to blow glass. I thought that was, for scientists and stuff. And then he explained, when I was out at Lurch's, he explained how simple it was. You just need to get the right stuff, like how important flashback arresters were and stuff like that. And then he offered to teach us a couple lessons for a fee or whatever. And we came back out the next few months and he taught us a couple times. And then me and my buddy John, we set up a studio in our garage. We were living together at the time, and we were always doing projects and stuff together. And so we set it up in the garage and then just started trying stuff, just making stuff where we were trying like tube pulls on. All our stuff was on these little national hand torches. We hadn't like splurged on like a Lynx or a Nortel or anything like that. So we were just in the garage messing around, and then every once in a while we'd go out and pay for another lesson. And then we just kept doing the garage, and then it kind of fell off. It was just a hobby. And then there was one point where I had lost my job working for my dad. I'd been doing that forever, doing deliveries. I was doing hazardous material deliveries of like crazy stuff with the aerospace industry and stuff. So I was like, I'm never going to have this chance again in foreseeable future. So I decided to sell all the glass I'd been collecting. I was a big glass collector back in the Toke City days, back before it was such a smaller market back then. It was like you could know every glass blower and everyone's pieces and like, oh, I remember that piece. I remember that. Now you can't keep track of everyone's work. It's impossible. There's so many glass blowers. And so I had a few $1,000s worth of glass, and I decided like I'm gonna sell it all and then buy my Mirage and then like do nothing but glass blowing and try to make a living at it. And then that's what I did. I set up a little. I got busted working in the backyard of my apartment, and the managers were like, "Oh, you can't do that." And so I was still living with John. It was a different apartment, and he helped me set up this studio in my room. It was an old desk, and we got corrugated metal and made sides and a back and a top, and had a vent coming. It had this crazy inline fan running from my bedroom to the living room. And
wow.
I'd work in the middle. I'd work at night we'd like black out the windows and stuff, and it was crazy. And then I finally found a shop to rent at, and then yeah, that's how it started. Yeah, it started out as a hobby, and then just became. I was like, I can try to do this, or I can keep trying to get another job doing something I wasn't really happy with. I was just working for my dad because that's what was easiest. It was not what I wanted to do. So I took a chance.
That's awesome. It worked out for you, I'm sure. What sort of things were you making when you like first started? When you said you were using a National, right?
Yeah.
Like what sort of things were you making back in that era of your career?
We were trying to make pipes and stuff, just basic stuff. Pretty much just seeing what we could do. Just making shitty clear pipes, and we never really bought tubing or anything. Just would do coil pots or mess around with clear glass. And then when we eventually got a Lynx, and then that's when I started doing. I always had this idea for doing reef pendants. Once I learned about latticino cane and spinning the first time I spun two colors of glass together, it was like, oh, that looks like a sea anemone or something you'd see in the ocean. My mom had always been an ocean lover, and I grew up going to the beach. I lived in Southern California, so we didn't have a lot of cash, so we went to the beach all the time during the summer. And I was like, and I just Lurch taught me how to do implosions and the basic gist, and then after trying stuff and just experimenting and then getting more lessons, I started off doing the reef marbles and pendants. And then once I started collecting Millie, I started doing the little tiny Millie pendants that I've kind of been known for. I haven't really done them lately. I've been doing more of the functional stuff, but yeah, it all started out with the reef stuff. When I was like spinning when I learned about latticino cane, I was always like, oh, that's what I wanted to make.
That's awesome. That's definitely something like when somebody brings up your work to me, it's like, oh, the two things that pop into my mind are the reef pendants and the Millie stuff.
Yeah, reefs and Millies. Yeah, that's
absolutely stellar. Yeah, absolutely stellar stuff. I love it. What was the first item that you started, or I guess maybe not the first, but what sort of things did you start making once you got a Mirage and bigger torch and more?
At that time, I really wanted to try to make a living doing non-functional stuff. I was always like intimidated by hollow stuff, and just I've always had this weird anxiety when I start working on something really heady and or intricate. I guess I'm not really known for heady stuff, but yeah, it's let's start over with that one. What was the question again? I'd lost track of everything.
So it was, what sort of things did you start making once you got the larger torch, like the Mirage?
Okay. Mainly I really wanted to start making reef pendants and marbles and try to make a living with that. I had been looking up to Gateson and Sable for the longest time, and I was really impressed with how they could make a living off of marbles and such. And I was like, that's what I wanted to do. It didn't really, I shouldn't have done that at the start. Marbles are some of the hardest stuff to sell, especially nowadays. But yeah, I did myself a disservice by not pushing myself into the functional stuff. But yeah, I was mainly doing marbles and pendants and dabbers and stuff. But eventually, I met a guy during the sesh days back when 5-6 years ago, 7 years ago, when there was local sessions everywhere, and I would always set up a table, and then the guy would see my stuff and he would be like, "Can you make this? Can you make this? Can you make this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess I could." And then that's how I got started into making like production functional, pretty much. I've always tried to I tried to make tubes and stuff, and I eventually got all right at it, but it was never really like my thing. I never really felt like I was like a heady guy. I always went back to like falling back on marbles and pendants and such. And then I got into the scene pendants, and that seemed to take off, but it was just there were just so much work, and there were so many times where stuff would go wrong and it'd just lose like days of work, and it was just another soul crushing aspect of glass blowing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that I don't think a lot of people realize is how far you could be into a project and then just have absolutely everything go wrong.
Yeah.
So did you have a mentor when you were starting?
I never really did like the full apprenticeship that you hear about and stuff. I didn't have like I didn't go and live on somebody's couch or like live in a studio for 6 months. Like I said, me and my buddy John, pretty much like is my big brother now. But we would just after work we'd go down, we'd smoke some bowls and then go down to the garage and then just mess around. We got I remember buying the Bandu books, like Essential Lamp Working 1 and 2, and then it was really just a lot of experimentation, and then just like self-taught, I guess. I still haven't really taken any official classes. I've always wanted to, but never had the amount of cash to drop to on the class and then to fly out. They're always seem to be on like the East Coast, or never around LA or Orange County where I lived. So I didn't really have money to fly anywhere. So yeah, it was mainly just that's also why I stuck to marbles and pendants so much, because I figured out the reef thing. I just kept developing techniques for that and figuring stuff out with trial and error. And like randomly I'd be like at home doing something or driving, and then I'd be like, oh, that I could do this with that, and then I could implode that and then stick Millies in and then try something, and then I'd have a new thing to try out, and it worked, and then I'd build more intricate stuff, and then it just kept building from there. And then every once in a while I'd step out and try something new, and then be like, after like building those basic skills, you can be like, oh, I think I know how you make a hand pipe. You make that shape, you pop the hole, you push the bowl, and then like, it's not like once you know how glass works, it's not the simple stuff you can figure it out. If you look at it enough, if you've worked with glass enough, you'd be like, oh, I know how that shape happens. And so it's been a lot of that. And then recently, well, not recently, 3-4 years ago, I moved into the Fat Boy shop with Dale Sommers, and he's always been a big inspiration. And we collected his work back in the day. And it was that really helped me out a lot with being in like an actual shop with people who had no problem helping me out when I needed help. And that definitely helped out a lot. Just watching those guys work, seeing what they did, and then being like, oh, that's how you do that.
Exactly.
It's a lot of just learning as you go. It never really stops.
Absolutely. So are you still working in that shop with those other guys right now? Yeah.
I've been there for, I think this is the 4th year, maybe even 5. But yeah, it's just it's just a nice professional shop. So
very cool. Very cool.
No shadiness.
That's always good. And I kind of skipped past this earlier, but when did you start blowing glass? What year was it? I'm really bad with dates. It's probably been about 8 years or so, maybe even 9. I can pull up. Nice. I have pictures from the first day at Lurch's, and they have a timestamp. That's what I always go to look at. see if I can pull it up. Uh, Triptylurgies. Oh wow. Yeah, it was 2010. That's when I first got on the torch, yeah. But whoops.
Wow.
But like I said, it's probably the last 5 or 6 years where it's been completely full time. Oh, there it is.
Nice.
There it goes. Yeah, it's been a while now. Yeah, it's crazy to think how long it's been now.
Yeah, it kind of gets away from you once you start going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So what drew you to working with Millie?
Well, I collected it back in the day. I had always wanted to. I collected glass with Millie on it before I really knew what it was. I remember seeing the pipes and stuff at the shops that had the images on them and being like, "Oh, that's cool. How do you?" I always wondered how you got such detailed images in glass. And I'll admit I was one of those people where it was like, "Oh, that can't be glass. Like that's got to be something else." Back in the day, and then once I got on Toke City, and then they had a whole glass appreciation like subculture, and that's just where I started finding more artists with Millie, and then stumbled across AK's work. And like this was back in the day when you could go to a random smoke shop and they'd have 5 AK slides for $150. And these were like the decked out Millie ones. I remember me and my buddy would go up to Wicked Sands every once in a while, and they had 3 AK tubes for like $3,000 each that were like fully millied out. And we'd always look at them and be like, "Oh, that's crazy. That's so much money for glass." And then I'd walk out with like a $150 AK slide. And it was that like now would be like $1,000 if you could come across one. It's crazy. And so those slides were where I was like, Millie's are awesome. Just how we'd have them attached and then like inlaid with the glass. And I'd be like, how does they're so big on the outside? How does he get them flush with the glass? And then once I started blowing glass and learned about how you make Millie and what Millie is, I just, I started collecting it. I was around when Maca just started, and I just kept collecting Millie. I had a huge collection before I started blowing glass, and then once I started, and I think the first times I like actually used some of the Millie I had was when domes were a thing, and I was like trying to make my first dome, and I was just sticking Millie chips on the outside and being like, this doesn't feel right. And so just kept working with Millie and buying more Millie. Like I'd spend all my money on Millie at the time, and just keep practicing with it. I've wasted so much on bad Millie snaps, bad nips. Like I remember at one point I was like, "Oh, all this Millie cane, I need to cut it up with my Millie nippers." And like, I know I'll get bad cuts, but it's what I need to do. And I just kept doing wrong things and figuring out, oh, that's not what you're supposed to do. It's like the Edison thing. There's 1,000 ways to not make a light bulb or whatever. But it's like, you learn by messing stuff up and like remember it because you're like no. So yeah, it's just I always loved. I've never been able to draw myself, so I love being able to use high quality like art in my art and stuff, and just like with the whole scene thing, those Millies, like some of those scenes took like I probably collected some of those Millies from like over a period of like almost a decade, and then was like, oh, I can put these all together and use them, and like I'm glad I didn't ruin all these ones. So it's just I just kept kept collecting them, kept using them, and like never really stopped. So that was what I got good at.
That's awesome. You truly like fell in love with it completely. That's really cool.
Yeah, I definitely love Millie.
What was the first Millie that you ever made yourself?
The classic heart, I believe it was. Yeah, just I got one of those. They have these big like cast iron or steel molds. I can't remember what they're made out of, but it's just a metal mold with a heart out of the center, and you can shove the glass in there and then coat it and do that. And then after that I tried a Triforce that came out okay. Had a little issues with one of the triangles, but I did that. And then with the help of one of my shopmates at a long time ago, I actually worked at Corey Williamson's shop back before he kind of went over the edge. And he helped me do a big yellow submarine for my reef stuff. And we were doing that. And that one's the most intricate one I've done. But yeah, I haven't really made that much Millie. I've wanted to go and take a class, but now like literally the year that like my business picked up and I've like become like somewhat like profitable and like have money to spend on a class, this whole COVID thing happens, and so it's on hold. I'd love to learn how to like act like really detailed Millie, but it's just I've never had the time or the amount of materials that I've been able to like risk losing, and like I just haven't had the time or the willingness to risk it to learn the stuff now. But now I have the luxury of I'd be able to take one of those classes, so I hope to make more Millie soon. But
nice. What was the first of those scenes that you ever made?
Well, I actually it's this South Park one. I've been actually using it as a slurper marble as a joke, because I was like, what's the funniest marble I could use? And yeah, that's the first time I was like, there's this forum called Talk Glass that was like before Facebook killed all the forums, that had this little tutorial on how to make a scene marble, and it explained how to do the layering and like when to lay stuff down. And I had tried stuff without Millie and just doing trees and a little forest scene with a rainbow and stuff. And then I was like, okay, let's try with the South Park kids. And I was like, oh, I happen to have all those Millies from when I was collecting them. So it's just a basic like 2-layer scene with the kids in front and then the mountains in the back. And after that, and once it came out, and I was like, oh, okay. Like people seemed to really like it when I posted it. And so I was like, okay, this is something I can do. And then they just kept going from there, getting bigger and more layers and deeper, and making the Millie, like at first all the Millies were different sizes. And then over time, I kept like pulling Millies down, making them bigger, and like getting everything the right size for the perspective. And then they just kept going from there. But yeah, it all started out with this guy.
Nice.
Just the 4 kids. Kenny's off to the side. But yeah, it's not the best, but it was like, yeah, that's the first one.
That's awesome. And how long ago was that you made that one?
Let's see, did I sign it? I've been bad about signing glass. No, probably 4 years ago, 4 or 3 years ago.
Nice.
Probably more now, geez.
Do you have like a rough estimate of like maybe how many Millies is in the most, or the largest scene, or the most number of Millies in a scene that you've done?
Yeah, I did a couple 2-sided ones that got up to the exact numbers are on the old posts. But I'm pretty sure it was like the single-sided ones, I got one up to like 50, 55, 50 something. Wow. That had Like it was just way too big. I remember my marble mold was like not handling it. And then the two-sided ones, I think somewhere like 70 to 80. So I tried to do 35 on each side.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's
those ones each took 2 days apiece.
Dang, that's what I was about to ask. Was like how much time goes into those?
Yeah, the bigger the marbles took almost twice as long as the pendants would because of the backing and then getting the front rounded out perfectly. And there would always be, I never really figured out what caused it, but every one of these scenes there would be something with the clear on the other side that would just pop up. It would be like crazy divot or these crazy wrinkles that would show up. I'd have these crazy lens lines that would be a pain in the ass. Just always something. It was like 1 out of 2. Like I'd have to like put back in the kiln and like hope I could heat back up. And like, yeah, I've done some crazy surgery on the big marbles, but yeah, it always took about a day of prep to get all the millies right, and then get everything sized up. And then I'd have to do the millies and then prep out all the colors that I'd use as the backgrounds, get those pulled down into like thick stringers, thick or thin, depending on what I would need them for, and get all that laid out. And then I'd have to clean everything. If there was like any kind of dust, it would like scuzz up the glass. And there's this, the front is just a huge lens, so everything gets magnified. And every time I look at like any of them, I'll be like, oh, I messed up there. And it's just there's nowhere to hide with the giant magnifying lens in the front of the marbles.
Yeah, absolutely. What is your favorite like series of characters to work with?
I always liked just using the random 90s cartoons characters. I grew up like I'd be on the TV from like 7 a.m. to like 11 when they'd eventually put Soul Train on after the cartoons that I watched. It'd be like, okay, cartoons are over. So yeah, I've always liked seeing those in Millie form and being able to put them where I thought it'd be funny but yeah, definitely the 90s cartoons, and then the South Park ones, just because they had so many ways for me to like recreate my favorite episodes or like have some sort of creative involvement in like fan art or something, because I can't draw for shit. I've never been a good artist. I like to draw crazy Stussy drawings when I was in middle school. Like that's what I did, because I couldn't draw to save my life. I didn't like art class because I felt like I would always fail at it. So once glassblowing came around, I was like, oh, I guess this is art now. So it was cool when I was like making like decent stuff and people were like actually appreciating it. And it was like, oh, I guess my art teacher was wrong about me.
Yeah, I've talked to several glassblowers doing these interviews, and I'd say about half of them have been like, oh yeah, I've had no involvement in art, never was an artistic person until I found glass. And then it opened up this whole like side of myself that I didn't even realize that I had. And that's like a common answer or a common thing that people bring up. And it's so cool that like there is like the crazy artistic people who've been artistic since they've been kids. And then there's the people like you're describing, like you. And then I'm the same way, where I was terrible in art class growing up. And then I found glass and I was like, oh, this can be art. Like I can have this much fun. And it doesn't have to always be exactly perfect looking or whatever, but I guess that's just art. I just had never really realized it. What are your favorite items to blow?
Right now it's the slurper marbles, man, because I started out like just making Millie marbles to sell at these little sessions, just because people at like, this was before people knew about glass, that like not everyone that smoked weed knew about heady glass. And so people were like fascinated with Millie and stuff, and it was always fun to explain how Millie worked, and then eventually I was like, I can't make money making just these marbles and stuff, and now it's like, now I can't make them fast enough to keep up with demand. I haven't even had time to make like cool reef ones. I haven't had time with the way stuff's going right now. Everybody wants marbles, so it's like, I used to have a screen name, or I used to have an Instagram, Marbles by Keys, and then I stopped using it just because I felt like I had all these like ghost followers and stuff, and it was like dragging me down. So that's when I started Keys Glass, and then I stopped really doing marbles. I didn't want to be known as the marble guy anymore, because I wasn't paying my rent. Like I was stressed out trying to like sell marbles specifically on like eBay and these like few Facebook groups, and it was always like, it was just so stressful, and I already have enough anxiety as it is. So yeah, so it's nice to be making marbles again, and be able to support myself with marbles.
Yeah.
And pendants again. But yeah, I love making marbles, and it's good to be doing it again. I just wish I had time to make some different stuff, but I've been turned into like this proto guy. So I never really expected that when I was starting out, but it is what it is, and it's definitely I'm not complaining. So
yeah, absolutely. Do you have a favorite color to work with?
Yeah, actually, it's got to be Orange Elvis. I don't know why. I've always liked striking colors, and I like Red Elvis, and I like Amber Purple and stuff. But like, I'm like, oh, I need more Orange Elvis. I need more Orange Elvis. So yeah, that's
nice.
I don't know why, but that's it.
Nice. Do you have a least favorite color to work with?
Yeah, the old greens before they got jade figured out. I lost back before I figured out, or there was a small window where I needed India green, and like you could get it, and then they stopped making it. So I ran out of my stash, and I kept trying other colors, and it just wasn't. I kept getting cracks and stuff, and I couldn't get a dense green to work for me after I ran out of India green. But now jade works. All my latest ones use jade, and it works great now. So, but yeah, it has some, especially on the reef stuff too. I remember trying some on I'd use them on the anemones, and all the little spirals. All the green would be little tiny micro cracks, and just be like, oh, god damn it! It was always greens.
Nice. That's an answer that I have heard before. The old green. Old green is an answer I've heard. Unobtainium is another really common answer to that question.
Oh yeah. I always just use that on the backing of stuff. I never had any problem with it on the outside, but yeah.
Yeah. As long as you do with it the things that it will do, and not you don't try to push it.
Follow the rules.
Yeah, exactly. What would you consider to be the most challenging style or type of piece to make?
Ugh. Anything with a big attachment, man. There's so many times where no matter what I did, when I put a marble on the back of a tube, it would just be, I'd put the dot where it needed to go. I'd like mark it, or I'd like puff it, but like I'd always end up putting it where it was off from the joint, and it wouldn't line up, and I'd be like, oh god damn it. And then and then taking the blow tube off any big piece, that was always, I would literally be like, I'd forget to breathe, I'd be sweating, I'd have sweat from my hands like gets transferred to inside the blow tubes, and like I'd be like, I couldn't turn the piece upside down, and like just that last blow tube is always the worst. Yeah.
What are some of the challenges that come with working with Millie?
Bad snaps, bad cutting, bad trying to separate Millie. I've had working on the Millie pendants. That people always ask me if I do stick and snap or if I use coin or cut polish pieces. Everything I do is stick and snap. I can't stand working with I can't stand working with chips anymore. That's what I did at the beginning, and I just wasted so much, and I can't stand doing it anymore. So yeah, everything's stick and snap. But then every once in a while, I'd be working on a giant Millie pendant, and then I'd be putting a Millie in the middle. Like I'd usually join the Millie characters from the outside in, so there'd be the least amount of like messing up two Millies at once with putting one on the inside. But then that middle one always seemed to be the one that would have this crazy jagged break. They're usually supposed to break like perfectly even, but then I'd be left with this giant chunk of Millie stuck on the Millie pendant, and then I'd either have to like perform surgery. Sometimes I'd have to like carefully rake out the Millie with like a flame and the glass and like pick it out. But then sometimes if it was too big, it would start, or the other Millies were too close, it would start sucking those guys out as I was pulling the other Millie out. I just couldn't get a localness of the flame, and like the heat would bleed over. And so yeah, I'd have to pull up three Millies, I'll just wipe them all off, and then like reapply clear, and then put more Millies down, and then I'd lose like we're talking like up to grams of cane at one point for one Millie snap. It's just like sometimes I'll be like, okay, not using that Millie again for a while, and then like it's just lots of loss over the years. Lots of good Millie lost.
Yeah, definitely. What would you say is the most amount of time you spent on a single piece?
Probably one of the two double-sided marbles I've done over the years. Just the prep, getting everything ready, like getting the clear ready, all the correct glass, getting everything lined up and then planned out. Because a lot of the times on the smaller stuff, I would just be like, oh, I have a general idea of what I'm doing. But like on the bigger ones, I'd like not really sketched out, but like plan what I was going to do. So I wasn't just like floundering halfway through on this like 16-hour project. So yeah, I'd get everything prepped out, and then the second day I did one side, and then the third day I did the other half, and then I joined them up, and then it took about 4 or 5 hours to like get the marble shape after I had joined them, because I'd never done anything that big, and I was just like, let's do it. so yeah, that was a long day. And then yeah, probably it's got to be those two double-sided marbles.
Nice. Have you ever competed at any events before?
No, I have enough anxiety when I'm finishing a piece on my own. Never really. I've never even thought that I would be good at a competition like that. It always seems like there's like, I always see those pieces that get entered, and I'm like, how did it even come up with that idea? Like you're timed, and like, why would you? And I think of like, oh, I'd have like a Reef marble and pendant there, and be like, that'd be no, I shouldn't be competing in these. So yeah, wasn't even a thing. I never even considered it.
Gotcha. Do you smoke weed yourself? You mentioned that you used that marble for your sliver marble, so I guess so. Yeah, you sort of already mentioned it. Do you use your own pieces?
Yeah. Most of the time, they're seconds or pieces I'm not happy with, or pieces that never sold. I especially for travel pieces and stuff. Whenever I go somewhere, I just take one of my old rigs. I still have some of my older stuff that I didn't sell, and then every once in a while I try to buy a piece that comes up from like the Toke City era, like back when I wish I had money to spend on cool pieces or like something I wanted back in the day. Like I have this, like I got this Slinger bub like last year just because I'd always wanted an Assault Girl piece because Slinger was a big inspiration growing up, when coming up in the Toke City and like learning to blow glass, and I had a couple of his slides but never was able to get one of his pieces, so I was like, oh cool.
Nice.
So now I have a Slinger piece, and yeah, it's mainly just glass that I have left over from that I didn't end up selling to start blowing glass myself, and then random bits and bobs that I picked up over the years as a collector through like trades or I run the Orange County Marble Show out here, and I've gotten some cool marbles through there that are in my display case. So yeah, it's just
cool.
Yeah, I've always I definitely use a lot of my glass just because it's there.
Heck yeah, that's what I was wondering is if since you had become a glass blower yourself, if you had completely stopped collecting or if you still managed to collect stuff over the years. So it sounds like you still kind of keep up with that a little bit.
Yeah, but yeah, like earlier, like I said, but yeah, most of my money when I was blowing glass was just going to Millie, so I didn't even have. I collected artist Millie, so yeah. that it all shifted to glass supplies. But yeah, now it's been fun to pick up some old pieces. I've honestly been trying to track down some of the pieces that I sold that I could hopefully get back, but it's been so long.
Yeah. What sort of things can we look forward to for the future for Keys Glass?
Just my accessories and stuff showing up in more shops. I have a huge waiting list right now for orders. More my stuff in more shops. I've pretty much transitioned to like accessories like slides, slurper marbles, pearls, and my spinner bubble caps that I do. So yeah, just
nice.
More glass and more shops.
Heck yeah. We've got some of your terp pearls in both of our shops right now. And we might have one or two of your pendants left. I'm not sure. I'm not positive. Do you still find you have the same love and passion as when you were starting?
Yeah. I look forward to going to work. Especially now. It was back when I was doing my marbles and pendants and stuff. It was always when I didn't do wholesale orders really, not very often. So it was always like I'd go to work and be like, okay, what do I make today? Like what's gonna sell so I can have money for rent this week or the end of this month. And so that was always a stressful thing, being like weighing what I like to make versus what I think will sell so I can continue working and living. So now that I have orders that for just these wholesale orders from shops, ever since I started working with my buddy Corey at Hypnotized, and he just became like my distributor, and he's gotten me into a lot more shops, and he just ever since that it's just been reliable work. That's all I can say. It's become a steady paycheck, which is something I always was hoping for, and it's nice to be able to do something I love and then also not having to worry about paying bills and not like getting kicked out of my apartment or like sacrificing electricity for gas or something. I don't know. I've tuned out all those dark days of starving artist time.
Nice.
It was rough.
That's awesome. That's awesome that you've grown past that. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Not off the top of my head. I feel like I've rambled quite a bit already.
No, you're good. it's been awesome. Amazing answers so far. I mean, not so far. We're about to be done. Oh gosh, I just had one more thing I was about. Oh yeah, where else can people find your work? Just on Instagram? Do you have a website or anything else?
I used to have a big cartel when I had glass to sell, but ever since 2020 hit, 2020 hit, the pandemic hit, I've just been. I honestly don't know what happened, but this year all of a sudden I have orders backed up, so I had to close down my big cartel just because I haven't had anything to put up there. Everything is made and then goes directly to a shop. But on my Instagram, I have on my profile page, I have highlights that have drops for each of the things. Either the shop, when they get it, they post, and I'll save it up there, or I'll take a picture of I'll take a picture of the drop before it goes out, and I save them all there. Or if they're really big orders, I usually post a picture on my actual feed. So yeah, everything's there. I really should have a better listing of somewhere, but with that, I need an employee to start working on some of this other projects that I need to get done. So
yeah, absolutely. So check out on Instagram at Keys Glass, and then on the highlights page there, maybe a shop near you has some of his work.
Man, that was so much fun. Thanks again to Keys Glass for that amazing interview. I had a blast talking with him. We got a little bit more time left, so we're going to talk with the crew. We're going to jump over to Elev8 Dolls.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Teresa here with Elev8 Dolls. Thank you, Chris, so much for having me on tonight. I really enjoy watching all the glass blowers and listening to how they've blossomed into the people they've become. My favorite question is when you ask them what's next. What are they going to do for the next 20 years? I always love to hear when people have goals. In fact, one of my goals is to grow Elev8 Dolls as big as we can across this world. What is Elev8 Dolls? Elev8 Dolls is a movement. It's a movement of women living a higher state of mind, body, and spirit who really want to experience this cannabis world, or just the world that evolves around it, the alternative lifestyle, with us. So what we do is we offer a brand ambassador program. That brand ambassador program gives you a coupon in order to purchase any of this stuff. It also gives you the option to pretty much be your own business and sell this stuff as well. What you see here is not all that we have available. There is so much more. I really would love the chance to talk to you, and I appreciate that you're listening to me tonight. So if you would like some more information on how to earn some money with Elev8, please DM or go to elev8dolls.com. Thank you, and elevate mind, body, and spirit.
Thanks, Elev8 Dolls. Remember, if you want to learn some more information, check out elev8dolls.com for all sorts of crazy information to sign up and everything you need to know about Elev8 Dolls. Now, a word from Elev8 Vets.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Thanks again, Chris, for having us. I'm John with Elev8 Veterans, and I'm just here to remind you guys, we got all this cool stuff and all these cool opportunities. If you're a veteran in the community and you guys are looking for somewhere to hang out, Elev8 is your place. As you can see, we got a kind of thing for everybody here. No matter what community, what stroke of life you're in, you're always welcome here. So if you guys have some free time and you want to come learn about what Elev8 Veterans is doing and how we can help you, come on down, dude. We got plenty of time, and if you'd like to volunteer, offer up some of your time as well, we'd love that too. So hopefully see you guys soon. Take it easy.
Thanks, Vets. Now, for a quick product demo.
What's up, Elev8 fam? Johnny here. I work at the warehouse as a wholesale account executive. If you guys want to join, please look into our brand ambassador program. It's really fun. It's another Friday here, so sesh time. And this week's sesh, I wanted to bring out the Dab Bat, show off our product here. This is our Dab Bat Dab Straw. This thing is sick. And the reason why, it's a borosilicate body. There's a silicone cap, and then there's a retractable quartz tip there. And so, as you see, that goes in. And like I said, this is quartz glass. So, borosilicate body, quartz glass top, boom, puts it right back there. Simple, right? The beauty of it is say you're going to a show, a 3-day show, which before all of this craziness happened, those were things like that. Or say you want to bring it on the go with you and you're going on a hike. This is the perfect way to now be able to consume with a dab bag, because that is my preferred way of consumption is dabbing, and dab straws are the most conservative way to hit your dabs. So it's a fun way to bring it with you. So Friday, thanks for letting me join the Elev8. Time to sesh, I guess, right? And so the thermal range on this quartz tip is way different too, so it makes it much better glass at dealing with these temperatures. So less likely to crack when you heat it up. And I got here my honey bucket with some concentrate in it. And she rips like a champ. And then the magic happens. Boom. Now I can put it in my pocket and be on my way. Thanks for letting me join Elevate Mind, Body, and Spirit, everybody.